The emergency siren screamed through the corridors of the massive research vessel Celestial Harmony as 8-year-old Maya Chun pressed her small hands against the reinforced viewport. Outside, the vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly, dotted with distant stars that looked like tiny diamonds scattered across black velvet. But Maya wasn't looking at the stars. She was watching the massive creature that floated alongside their ship, its crystalline scales catching and reflecting the light from nearby suns. The star dragon was enormous, easily 3 times the length of their already huge starship. Its body seemed to be made of living crystal and starlight, with wings that sparkled like captured nebulae. But something was terribly wrong. The magnificent creature was writhing in obvious pain, letting out sounds that somehow traveled through the vacuum of space and rattled the ship's hull. The howling was a deep, mournful cry that seemed to touch something deep in Maya's chest. "Maya, get away from there." Her mother, Dr. Sarah Chun, rushed over and tried to pull her daughter back from the observation deck. Dr. Chun was one of the ship's lead xenobiologists, and Maya could see the worry lines creased deep into her mother's forehead. "It's too dangerous. We don't know what that creature might do." "But, Mom, it's hurt," Maya said, refusing to move from the viewport. Her dark eyes were fixed on the star dragon, watching as it curled and uncurled its massive body in what looked like waves of agony. "Can't you hear it crying?" Dr. Chin paused for a moment, listening to the haunting sounds that echoed through the ship. The dragon's cries were unlike anything in their xenobiology databases. They weren't just sounds, they seemed to carry emotions, pain, and something that felt almost like pleading. Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled over the ship's communication system. "All hands, this is the bridge. We've encountered what appears to be a juvenile star dragon in distress. The creature is approximately 800 meters in length and appears to be experiencing some form of medical emergency. All non-essential personnel should remain in their quarters while we assess the situation." Maya frowned at the word juvenile. If this was a baby dragon, how big were the adults? But her concern for the creature's pain overrode her amazement at its size. She had always been sensitive to the suffering of animals, whether they were earth cats or the strange 6-legged creatures they had encountered on Kepler 442b. This was no different, except that this animal was big enough to accidentally destroy their entire ship if it thrashed around too much. "Mom, we have to help it," Maya said urgently, tugging on her mother's lab coat. "Look at how it's moving. Something is really wrong." Dr. Chin knelt down to Maya's eye level, her expression serious but gentle. "Sweetheart, I know you want to help, but we're dealing with a completely unknown species. We don't know anything about star dragon biology, what they eat, what might hurt them, or even how to communicate with them. The science teams are already working on it." Through the viewport, they could see small research shuttles launching from the ship's bay, their sensors extended as they carefully approached the writhing dragon. The creature seemed to notice them, turning its massive head in their direction. Its eyes were like twin stars, burning with an inner light that seemed to pulse with its pain. When it saw the shuttles, it let out another cry, this one somehow sounding almost hopeful. Maya pressed both palms against the cool metal of the viewport. "It knows we're trying to help," she whispered. "Look at its eyes." Dr. Chen looked, and she had to admit that Maya seemed to be right. There was definitely intelligence in those stellar eyes, and the dragon's movement had changed from pure pain to something that looked more like communication attempts. It was slowly moving its wings in what might have been gestures, and its cries had taken on a different pattern, more rhythmic, more purposeful. The ship's xenolinguistics team was undoubtedly analyzing every sound, but Maya seemed to be picking up on emotional content that their sophisticated equipment might miss. Children often had an instinctive understanding of animal behavior that adults had trained themselves out of. Dr. Chin made a mental note to suggest that the research teams include Maya's observations in their analysis. Commander Torres, the ship's first officer, appeared on the observation deck with a tablet in her hands. Her usually calm expression was troubled. "Dr. Chun, We need you in Lab 7 immediately. Our preliminary scans of the dragon are showing some very concerning results. What kind of results? Dr. Chen asked, standing up but keeping one hand on Maya's shoulder. The creature appears to have some kind of parasitic organisms attached to its neural pathways. They're not native to the dragon. Our computers are showing them as completely separate life forms. But they seem to be causing extreme pain by interfering with the dragon's nervous system. We need your expertise in xenoparasitology. Maya looked up sharply. Parasites? Like the space fleas we found on the mining station. Possibly, but much more dangerous, Commander Torres replied. These seem to be specifically designed to cause neural pain. We're not sure if they're a natural parasite or if they were deliberately placed. The implications of that statement hung heavy in the air. If the parasites had been deliberately placed, it meant someone was torturing the star dragon. The thought made Maya's stomach twist with anger and sadness. I want to help, Maya said firmly, crossing her small arms. I could tell what the dragon is feeling. Maybe I can help you understand what it needs. Commander Torres smiled gently but shook her head. That's very brave of you, Maya, but this is extremely dangerous work. We're dealing with unknown alien technology and a creature powerful enough to destroy our ship if something goes wrong. But I can understand it. Maya protested. When it makes different sounds, I can tell what it means. It's scared and hurting, but it's also trying to tell us something important. Dr. Chen looked thoughtfully at her daughter. Maya had always had an unusual ability to connect with alien life forms. On their previous missions, she had been the first to recognize the intelligence of the crystal gardens of Proxima Centauri, and she had somehow figured out how to communicate with the singing flowers of Wolf 359 before the linguistics team had even established that they were sentient. Maya, Dr. Chan said slowly, if I bring you to the lab with me, do you promise to stay exactly where I tell you to stay and not touch anything unless I say it's okay? Maya nodded eagerly. I promise. I just want to help the dragon feel better. Commander Torres looked uncertain. Dr. Chun, are you sure about this? Regulations clearly state that minors shouldn't be in active research areas during crisis situations. Maya has provided valuable insights on our previous encounters with alien life, Dr. Chen replied. And if these parasites are causing psychological as well as physical pain, her empathic abilities might be exactly what we need. We'll keep her at a safe distance. The three of them made their way through the ship's corridors toward Lab 7. The Celestial Harmony was one of the newest and largest research vessels in the human fleet, designed specifically for deep space exploration and first contact scenarios. The corridors were wide and well-lit, with gentle curves that made the ship feel more welcoming and less military than the older exploration vessels. As they walked, the dragon's cries continued to echo through the ship's hull. Maya noticed that the sound were getting more urgent, more desperate. She paused in the corridor, closing her eyes and listening carefully. It's trying to warn us about something, she said suddenly. The sound it's making, they're not just pain sounds anymore. It's trying to tell us that something bad is coming. Commander Torres and Dr. Chun exchanged worried glances. What kind of something bad? Commander Torres asked. Maya shook her head, frustrated by her inability to be more specific. I don't know exactly, but it's scared of something else, not just the things that are hurting it. Like when a dog hears thunder before people can hear it. They reached Lab 7 to find a flurry of activity. Scientists hunched over displays showing detailed scans of the star dragon's body, while others worked at communication arrays, trying to establish meaningful contact. Dr. Patel, the head of xenobiology, looked up as they entered. Sarah, thank goodness you're here. Take a look at these scans. Dr. Patel gestured to a large holographic display showing the dragon's internal structure. The parasites are unlike anything we've ever encountered. They're not biological. They appear to be some kind of technological construct designed to mimic biological neural tissue. Dr. Chun studied the display with growing alarm. The parasites were attached to key points along the dragon's nervous system, and they were pulsing with energy in patterns that seemed designed to maximize pain and confusion. "This is definitely artificial," she said. "But who would create something like this? And why would they use it to torture a star dragon?" "More importantly," Dr. Patel continued, "the dragon's vital signs are declining rapidly. If we can't remove these things soon, the creature will die from neural shock." Maya had been quietly observing the holographic display, her young mind processing the information in ways that adults might miss. "The sparkly parts," she said suddenly, pointing at the parasites. "They're not just hurting the dragon. They're trying to control it." The scientists turned to look at her with surprise. "What do you mean, control it?" Dr. Chen asked. "Look at where they're attached," Maya said, walking closer to the display. "It's like they're trying to make the dragon do things it doesn't want to do. And the dragon is fighting back, but it's really tired from fighting for so long." Dr. Patel examined the scan more closely, following Maya's observations. She might be right. If you look at the neural pathway connections, the parasites aren't just causing random pain. They're interfering with the dragon's voluntary motor functions and decision-making processes. The implications were staggering. Someone had essentially enslaved a star dragon using technological parasites, and the creature was slowly dying from the stress of fighting against the control system. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom again, this time with obvious urgency. "All hands, we have multiple contacts approaching on long-range sensors. Unknown vessel configuration, but they appear to be armed and moving fast. Estimated time to intercept, 6 hours. Maya gasped, her eyes wide. That's what the dragon was trying to warn us about. The bad things are coming. They're the ones who heard it. The lab fell silent except for the humming of equipment and the distant, mournful cries of the star dragon. Everyone was thinking the same thing. If whoever had tortured the dragon was coming back, humanity was about to face something far beyond their understanding. Dr. Chen put her arm around Maya's shoulders. Sweetheart, I need you to tell me everything you can sense about what the dragon is feeling. We might not have much time. Maya closed her eyes and listened carefully to the dragon's cries, her young mind somehow attuned to the emotional content of the alien sounds. It's grateful that we want to help, and it's sorry that we might get hurt because of it. But mostly it's angry. Really, really angry at the things that captured it and hurt it. Anything else? Dr. Chun prompted gently. Maya was quiet for a long moment, concentrating hard. When she opened her eyes, they were bright with determination. It wants to fight back, but it can't while those sparkly things are controlling it. If we can help it get free, it will help us fight the bad ships. The room erupted in discussion as the scientists debated the risks and possibilities of Maya's interpretation. But Dr. Chun was looking at her daughter with a mixture of pride and worry. Maya had always been special, but now she might be their only hope of communication with a creature powerful enough to either save them or destroy them. The dragon's cries echoed through the ship again, and this time Maya heard something new in them. Hope. The star dragon knew they were trying to help, and it was ready to do whatever it took to break free from its torturers and protect the small beings who had shown a kindness. Outside the ship, the magnificent creature continued to writhe in pain, but now there was purpose in its movements. It was preparing for a battle that would determine not just its own fate, but the fate of every human aboard the Celestial Harmony. Time was running out, and a small human child might be the key to saving them all. The laboratory fell into organized chaos as teams began working on solutions. Dr. Chun found herself coordinating between the medical team analyzing the parasites, the engineering team trying to figure out how to remove them, and her 8-year-old daughter, who seemed to be their only reliable translator for a creature the size of a skyscraper. Maya, Dr. Chen said, kneeling down beside her daughter, I need you to listen very carefully to the dragon and tell me, does it understand that we want to help remove the things that are hurting it? Maya nodded immediately. It knows. It's been hoping someone would help for a really long time. But it's also scared that if we try to take them off wrong, it might hurt us accidentally. Dr. Patel looked up from his analysis. The dragon's concern is valid. Our scans show that the parasites are connected to the creature's pain centers and motor controls. If we remove them incorrectly, the dragon could experience massive neural feedback that would cause it to thrash uncontrollably. How big of a thrash are we talking about? Asked Chief Engineer Martinez, who had joined them in the lab. Big enough to crush our ship without even noticing, Dr. Patel replied grimly. Maya suddenly perked up, listening to a new sound from the dragon. It says it has an idea. It wants to show us something, but it needs us to send a shuttle closer to its head. Commander Torres shook her head. Absolutely not. We're not risking pilot lives based on interpretations from an 8-year-old. But I'm right, Maya protested. I know I'm right. It wants to show us where the main control parasite is. It can't point with its claws because they're too big, but it can guide a shuttle to the right spot. Dr. Chen looked at the sensor readings showing the approaching enemy ships. They were still hours away, but every minute counted. What if we send an unmanned probe instead of a shuttle with crew? Chief Engineer Martinez nodded thoughtfully. We could modify a survey probe with enhanced sensors and communication equipment. If the Dragon can guide it to specific locations, we might be able to get detailed scans of the parasite attachment points. Do it, Commander Torres decided. But if that creature makes any aggressive moves toward our probe, we're pulling back immediately. 20 minutes later, they watched on the main display as a small probe launched from the ship and approached the massive Star Dragon. Maya stood in front of the screen, her small hands pressed against her chest as she concentrated on the dragon's communications. It's happy that we're coming closer, she reported. Now it's trying to hold very still so it doesn't scare us. The probe moved slowly toward the dragon's head, which was easily the size of a city block. The creature's stellar eyes tracked the tiny device, and it made soft, encouraging sounds that somehow managed to travel through space and resonate through the ship's hull. The dragon is guiding the probe, Maya said excitedly. It wants us to look at the place right behind its left ear. That's where the main control thing is. The probe followed Maya's directions, and soon their screens were filled with detailed images of what looked like a mechanical spider made of pure energy. The parasite had buried its legs deep into the dragon's neural tissue, and it was pulsing with malevolent red light. That's definitely the control unit, Dr. Patel confirmed. The other parasites we can see are just pain inducers and muscle controllers. This one is the master unit. Dr. Chen studied the images carefully. If we could disrupt that one device, would it free the dragon from the control system? Theoretically, yes, Dr. Patel replied. But the question is how. We need to get close enough to either destroy it or somehow override its programming. Maya was listening to the dragon again, her face scrunched up in concentration. It says the sparkly control thing has a weak spot, but we have to be very careful. If we hit it wrong, it will send lots of pain through the dragon's whole body before it breaks. What kind of weak spot? Chief Engineer Martinez asked. The dragon says the bad people who put it there were lazy, Maya explained. They didn't protect the back part very well because they thought no one would ever get behind it. On the screen, the probe moved around the parasite, giving them a complete view of the device. Sure enough, the back of the mechanical spider showed what looked like exposed circuitry and energy conduits. If we could hit those conduits with a precise electromagnetic pulse, Martinez mused, we might be able to overload the device without triggering the pain response. How precise are we talking? Commander Torres asked. We need to hit a target about 10 centimeters across from a distance of at least a kilometer, Martinez replied. And we have to do it while the dragon is moving, because those parasites are making it impossible for the creature to hold completely still. The room fell silent as everyone contemplated the difficulty of the shot. It would be like hitting a moving coin from across a city with a laser beam, while the coin was attached to a moving mountain. I can do it, said a quiet voice from the back of the lab. Everyone turned to see Lieutenant Jessica Park, one of the ship's weapons specialists, standing in the doorway. She was young for her rank, barely 25, but she had a reputation as one of the best precision shooters in the fleet. Lieutenant, this isn't a standard targeting situation, Commander Torres pointed out. One wrong move, and we could kill the dragon or cause it to destroy our ship. Ma'am, I've been following the conversation from the bridge, Lieutenant Park replied. I've already run the calculations through our targeting computers. It's a difficult shot, but it's possible, especially if the dragon can help by moving in a predictable pattern. Maya's eyes lit up. It can. The dragon is really smart. If we tell it what we need, it can move exactly the right way. Dr. Chen looked at her daughter with concern. Maya, honey, this is going to be very dangerous. If the shot doesn't work perfectly, the dragon might be in even more pain. But if we don't try, it's going to die anyway, Maya replied with the simple logic of childhood. And the bad ships will hurt all of us. We have to try. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom with an update that made their decision urgent. Unknown vessels have increased speed. New intercept time, 4 hours. All departments, please expedite your work on the dragon situation. Commander Torres made the decision. Lieutenant Park, prep your equipment. Dr. Chun, work with Maya to explain our plan to the dragon. Everyone else, I want backup plans in case this doesn't work. We're not going down without a fight. As the team dispersed to their tasks, Maya remained focused on the dragon's communications. The magnificent creature seemed to understand that something important was about to happen, and its cries had taken on a tone of determined hope. It's ready, Maya announced. The dragon says it will trust us completely, even if it means more pain. It just wants to be free so it can protect us from the bad people. Dr. Chin hugged her daughter tightly. You're being very brave, Maya. The dragon is lucky to have you as its friend. Outside the ship, the star dragon prepared for the most important moment of its long life. It had been a prisoner for so long that it had almost forgotten what freedom felt like. But these small, kind beings were willing to risk everything to help it, and it would do whatever it took to make their plan succeed. The battle for both their freedoms was about to begin, and it would all depend on the courage of a human child and the precision of a single shot. Lieutenant Jessica Park stood in the ship's primary weapons control center, her hands steady despite the enormous pressure of the moment. The precision laser array before her was designed for scientific sampling, not combat, but it could deliver an extremely focused electromagnetic pulse with surgical accuracy. She had spent the last hour recalibrating the systems for what might be the most important shot in human history. Dragon is in position, Maya announced from her spot next to the communication console. She had become the unofficial translator for the entire operation, her small voice carrying the weight of interspecies diplomacy. It says it's ready, and it trusts us. Through the main viewport, they could see the massive star dragon floating in space, its crystalline body positioned so that the parasite behind its left ear was clearly visible to their sensors. The creature had somehow managed to stop the involuntary writhing that the pain-inducing parasites caused, holding itself as still as possible despite the obvious agony it was experiencing. Neural readings show the dragon is channeling all its willpower into remaining stationary, Dr. Patel reported from his monitoring station. But its stress levels are off the charts. We need to take the shot soon, or the creature won't be able to maintain position. Lieutenant Park checked her targeting display one final time. The shot would travel over 1 kilometer through space to hit a target smaller than a dinner plate, and the margin for error was essentially 0. Too high, and they would hit the dragon's brain tissue. Too low, and they would miss the parasite entirely. Too much power, and they would kill the dragon. Too little, and they would trigger the pain response without destroying the control device. Lieutenant, you are authorized to fire when ready. Captain Rodriguez's voice came through the comm system. Maya suddenly held up her hand. Wait, the dragon wants to tell us something. The star dragon's voice echoed through the ship's hull, a complex series of tones and harmonics that somehow conveyed meaning to Maya's sensitive ears. She listened intently, her face growing serious. It says the bad ships have a way to make the sparkly control thing hurt it really badly if they think someone is trying to free it, Maya translated. But if we can break the control thing fast enough, it won't have time to send the really bad pain signal. Dr. Patel's face paled as he understood the implications. The dragon is telling us that whoever installed these parasites built in a dead man's switch. If they detect tampering, they can trigger a massive pain response that could kill the dragon. How fast is fast enough? Lieutenant Park asked, her finger hovering over the firing control. Maya listened to more dragon communication. It says we have maybe 2 heartbeats after the control thing realizes it's being attacked. The dragon's heart beats really slowly, so that's probably about 6 seconds for us. 6 seconds, Park repeated, calculating rapidly. That means I need to destroy the primary control unit. Then, immediately target the backup pain amplifiers before they can activate the kill switch. She looked up at Commander Torres with grim determination. Ma'am, I'll need authorization to fire multiple shots in rapid succession. You have it, Torres replied without hesitation. Maya was back in communication with the dragon, her small face scrunched up in concentration. It wants to know about the bad ships. How close are they now? Captain Rodriguez's voice provided the answer over the comm. Enemy vessels are now 3 hours out and still accelerating. We've also detected what appears to be some kind of signal being transmitted between the enemy ships and something in the dragon's vicinity. Dr. Chun felt a chill run down her spine. They're communicating with the parasites. The people who capture the dragon are monitoring the control devices remotely, which means they probably already know we're here, Commander Torres added grimly. Maya's eyes went wide as she processed new information from the dragon. The dragon says the bad people have been watching us through the sparkly things. It tried to hide that we were helping, but it thinks they figured it out anyway. The tactical situation had just become much worse. Not only were they racing against time to free the dragon before the enemy ships arrived, but their opponents already knew exactly what they were trying to do. Lieutenant Park, how quickly can you modify the firing sequence? Commander Torres asked. Give me 2 minutes to reprogram the targeting computer for rapid multi-target engagement, Park replied, her fingers flying over the controls. While Park worked, Maya continued her conversation with the dragon. The massive creature's cries had taken on a new urgency, and Maya's translations revealed why. The dragon says the bad people are angry that we're trying to help, Maya reported. They're sending a signal to make all the sparkly things hurt it more right now. Through the viewport, they could see the dragon's body convulsing as the parasites increased their pain output. The creature's stellar eyes blazed with agony, but it was still trying to hold position for their attack. Its determination to endure additional torture for the sake of their plan was both inspiring and heartbreaking. Targeting sequence updated, Lieutenant Park announced. I can now fire 6 shots in rapid succession, targeting the primary control unit and the 5 backup pain amplifiers. But I need the dragon to hold position for at least 15 seconds. The dragon says it will try. Maya translated, tears streaming down her face as she felt the creature's pain. But it's really hurting now. The bad people are trying to make it too painful for it to think straight. Dr. Chun knelt beside her daughter and pulled her into a gentle hug. Maya, I need you to tell the dragon something for me. Tell it that we know how brave it's being, and that we're going to do everything we can to help it be free. Maya nodded and somehow conveyed the message to the dragon. The creature's response was a low, harmonious tone that seemed to resonate with hope despite its obvious suffering. It says thank you, Maya whispered, and it says that no matter what happens, it's happy that it met kind people like us. Lieutenant Park took a deep breath and entered the final firing sequence. Ma'am, I'm ready to engage. Dragon is holding position, Dr. Patel confirmed. Neural stress is at maximum sustainable levels, but the creature is maintaining targeting alignment. Commander Torres gave the order. Lieutenant Park, you are cleared to engage. Godspeed. The first shot fired with a brilliant flash of coherent light. Across the kilometer of space separating them from the dragon, the electromagnetic pulse traveled at the speed of light to strike the primary control parasite with perfect precision. The mechanical device sparked and flared as its circuits overloaded, then went dark. Maya gasped as the dragon's cries suddenly changed tone. The main control thing is broken, but the pain things are starting to activate. Park was already firing her second shot, then her third and fourth in rapid succession. Each pulse targeted one of the backup parasites that were beginning to glow with malevolent energy as they attempted to trigger the kill switch. The dragon writhed in space as waves of artificial agony crashed through its nervous system, but it continued to hold position as much as possible. 2 more targets, Park muttered, lining up her 5th shot. Come on, hold together. The 5th shot destroyed another parasite just as it began to pulse with deadly energy. But the 6th and final target was proving more difficult. The dragon's involuntary movements had shifted it slightly out of optimal targeting position. I can compensate for the movement, but I need 3 more seconds, Park called out. The dragon can't hold much longer, Maya cried out. The last sparkly thing is really trying to hurt it badly. Through the viewport, they could see the final parasite blazing with red energy as it prepared to deliver a potentially fatal neural shock to the already tormented dragon. The creature's body was convulsing more violently now, and its ability to maintain any kind of control position was failing rapidly. Take the shot, Commander Torres ordered. Lieutenant Park fired the 6th and final pulse just as the dragon's body twisted away from the optimal angle. For a terrifying moment, it seemed like the shot might miss entirely. But the electromagnetic pulse clipped the edge of the parasite's energy core, disrupting its systems just enough to prevent the full kill switch activation. The parasite exploded in a shower of sparks and went dark. Suddenly, the dragon's agonized cries stopped. For a moment, space around the celestial harmony was completely silent except for the normal background hum of the ship's systems. Then, the star dragon let out a sound unlike anything they had heard before, a pure, joyful note that seemed to celebrate the simple pleasure of existing without pain. It worked, Maya shouted, jumping up and down with excitement. The dragon is free. It's really free. The massive creature stretched its crystalline wings for the first time in what must have been years, creating a display of reflected starlight that was absolutely breathtaking. Its movements were no longer the desperate thrashing of a tortured animal, but the graceful motions of a being finally able to control its own body. Dr. Patel was monitoring the dragon's vital signs with amazement. Neural pain indicators have dropped to 0. Motor control has been fully restored to the creature. All parasitic devices appear to be completely inactive. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the comm with barely contained relief. Outstanding work, everyone. Now we need to prepare for the arrival of our uninvited guests. Enemy ships are now 2 hours out. The freed star dragon turned its massive head toward their ship, and Maya gasped at what she saw in its stellar eyes. Instead of the pain and desperation that had been there before, she now saw intelligence, gratitude, and something that looked very much like determination for battle. The dragon wants to talk to all of us, Maya announced. It has important things to tell us about the bad people who are coming. Commander Torres nodded. Put on the main communication system. What came through the ship's speakers wasn't quite language as humans understood it, but somehow Maya was able to translate the meaning for everyone. The dragon says its name is Star Whisper, Maya began, pausing to listen to complex harmonics. And it says the bad people are called the Devourers. They capture star dragons and other space creatures to use as weapons against peaceful planets. The implications were staggering. The approaching ships weren't just random pirates or raiders. They were part of an organized effort to enslave some of the galaxy's most powerful creatures. Star Whisper says there are 5 enemy ships coming, and they have weapons that can hurt star dragons, Maya continued. But now that it's free, it can fight back properly. It wants to protect us because we were kind to it. Dr. Chun felt a mixture of gratitude and worry. Having a star dragon as an ally was incredible, but she didn't want the magnificent creature to risk itself for their sake. Maya, can you ask Star Whisper if it wouldn't be safer for it to just fly away? We don't want it to get hurt again. Maya relayed the question and listened to the dragon's response. Star Whisper says that would be the coward's way. It's been running and hiding from the Devourers for too long. Now that it's free and has friends to fight alongside, it wants to make sure they can't hurt anyone else. Lieutenant Park was already analyzing tactical possibilities. Ma'am, if the dragon is willing to work with us, we might actually have a chance. A star dragon's energy output is off the charts. If we could coordinate our weapons with its natural abilities. What kind of natural abilities? Commander Torres asked. Maya listened to Star Whisper's explanation, and her eyes grew wide. It can make solar flares, and it can fly faster than anything the bad people have. Oh, and it could do something called stellar camouflage, where it looks like a star until it's right on top of enemies. Chief Engineer Martinez whistled softly. Solar flares as weapons? That's essentially miniature stellar events. If the dragon can generate and direct that kind of energy, we might just have found ourselves the galaxy's most powerful ally, Commander Torres finished. Star Whisper's voice echoed through the ship again, and Maya translated eagerly. It says it wants to show us something that will help us fight the Devourers. But we need to send another shuttle close to it. What kind of something? Dr. Chen asked. Maya listened carefully to the dragon's explanation. Star Whisper says that when the Devourers captured it, it managed to grab some pieces of their technology with its claws. It's been hiding the pieces inside its body, waiting for a chance to share them with someone who could understand how they work. The room erupted in excited discussion. Captured enemy technology could give them crucial insights into the Devourer's capabilities and weaknesses. But more importantly, it proved that Star Whisper was not just a powerful ally, but also a strategic thinker who had been planning for this moment. Do it! Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the comm. Launch a full science shuttle with our best technology analysis team. If we're going to fight these Devourers, we need every advantage we can get. As the shuttle prepared to launch, Maya remained in communication with Star Whisper. The dragon's mood had transformed completely from the tortured creature they had first encountered. It was now alert, confident, and eager to share everything it knew about their mutual enemies. Star Whisper says the Devourers think they're the strongest things in space, Maya reported. But it knows secrets about how to beat them. It's been watching and learning every time they captured other dragons. How many other dragons have they captured? Dr. Chen asked, though she was afraid to hear the answer. Maya's expression grew sad. Too many. Star Whisper says there's a whole place where they keep captured star dragons and make them fight against peaceful planets. It's like a prison, but for the biggest and most beautiful creatures in space. The thought of an entire facility dedicated to enslaving star dragons was horrifying, but it also presented an opportunity. If they could defeat the approaching Devourer ships, they might be able to learn the location of this dragon prison and potentially free many more of the magnificent creatures. Star Whisper's voice came through the communications again, and this time Maya's translation carried a note of fierce determination. It says that today, the Devourers are going to learn what happens when you hurt a star dragon's friends. And it promises that after we win, it will help us free all the other captured dragons. Lieutenant Park smiled grimly as she began preparing the ship's weapons for battle alongside their new ally. I think the Devourers are about to get a very unpleasant surprise. Outside the ship, Star Whisper stretched its crystalline wings and began to glow with inner fire. For the first time in years, the magnificent creature was preparing for a battle where it would fight as a free being, not as an enslaved weapon. And it intended to show the Devourers exactly why star dragons were the most feared predators in the galaxy when they chose to be. The approaching enemy ships had no idea that their tortured prisoner had just become humanity's most powerful protector. The real battle was about to begin, and it would be like nothing the galaxy had ever seen before. Maya pressed her small hand against the viewport, watching as Star Whisper's body began to pulse with stellar energy. "Don't worry," she whispered to the dragon, knowing somehow that it could hear her across the vacuum of space. "We're going to win this together." The Star Dragon's response was a note of pure confidence that resonated through the ship's hull like a promise of victory. The Devourers were coming, but they were no longer facing a helpless research vessel and a tortured prisoner. They were about to encounter the combined fury of human ingenuity and an unleashed Star Dragon. And that, Maya thought with the absolute certainty of childhood, was going to be more than enough to send the bad guys running home with their tails between their legs. The approaching battle would test every bit of courage and cleverness that both species possessed. But as she watched Star Whisper practice creating small solar flares in the distance, Maya knew with complete confidence that freedom and friendship would triumph over cruelty and enslavement. After all, that's how all the best stories ended. The science shuttle returned from its rendezvous with Star Whisper, carrying technology that made the entire research team gasp in amazement. The Dragon had somehow managed to tear several critical components from Devourer ships during its capture, and the advanced alien technology was unlike anything in human databases. "This is incredible," Dr. Martinez breathed as he examined the crystalline devices that seemed to bend light around themselves. These appear to be some kind of dimensional phase modulators. They're allowing matter to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Maya stood beside the examination table, serving as translator while Star Whisper explained the significance of each recovered piece. Star Whisper says those sparkly things are how the bad ships can disappear and reappear somewhere else really fast. But it also says there's a way to stop them from working. "Ow!" Commander Torres asked urgently. The enemy ships were now less than an hour away, and every tactical advantage could make the difference between victory and destruction. Maya listened carefully to Star Whisper's complex explanation, her young mind somehow able to process the Dragon's advanced understanding of physics and tactics. The Dragon says if we can make a really bright flash of the right kind of light, it will confuse the sparkly things and make the bad ships get stuck halfway between being invisible and being real. Dr. Patel was already running calculations on his tablet. If the child is interpreting correctly, the Dragon is describing a quantum resonance cascade that would destabilize phase modulation technology. But we need to generate a very specific frequency of coherent energy. Star Whisper can make that kind of light, Maya announced excitedly. It's part of how Star Dragons make solar flares. But it needs us to tell it exactly when to do it because the timing has to be perfect. Lieutenant Park was studying the tactical implications with growing excitement. If we can coordinate our attack with the Dragon's energy burst, we could catch the Devourer ships when they're most vulnerable, right as they're trying to phase shift to avoid our weapons. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom with an urgent update. "All hands, enemy vessels have been detected on short-range sensors. We now have visual confirmation of 5 ships of unknown design. They appear to be significantly larger than our vessel and are displaying what our computers classify as hostile intent." Through the main viewport, they could see the approaching Devourer ships in the distance, dark, angular vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with predatory grace through space, clearly designed for hunting rather than exploration. Maya pressed closer to the communication console, listening to Star Whisper's increasingly urgent tones. The Dragon recognizes those ships. It says 3 of them were there when it got captured, and the biggest one is where they keep the main control computers for all the sparkly control things. That must be their command vessel, Commander Torres realized. If we could disable that ship, we might be able to free any other captured creatures they have. Dr. Chin looked at her daughter with concern. "Maya, are you sure you're understanding everything correctly? These battle plans will depend on your translations." Maya nodded solemnly, understanding the weight of responsibility on her small shoulders. "Mom, I know it sounds crazy, but I can understand Star Whisper perfectly now. It's like we're thinking together somehow." Dr. Patel's scanner readings seemed to confirm Maya's claim. The quantum resonance patterns between the child and the Dragon have become remarkably synchronized. They appear to be sharing a form of direct neural communication. The implications of this development were staggering, but there was no time to study it further. The Devourer ships were approaching fast, and battle would be joined within minutes. Star Whisperer wants to know our battle plan, Maya announced. It's ready to follow our lead, but it also has suggestions based on fighting these particular ships before. Commander Torres made a quick decision. Tell Star Whisperer that we'll coordinate a three-phase attack. First, we'll engage with conventional weapons to force them into defensive positions. Second, we'll target their phase modulators with coordinated energy bursts. Third, once they're vulnerable, we'll focus all firepower on their command ship. Maya relayed the plan to Star Whisperer, then listened to the dragon's response. Star Whisperer likes the plan, but it says we should add one more thing. After we attack their big ship, the dragon wants to grab it with its claws and shake it really hard. Apparently, that's very effective against Devourer technology. Despite the tension of the approaching battle, several people in the room couldn't help but smile at the image of a star dragon literally shaking an enemy vessel like a dog with a toy. Tell Star Whisperer that sounds like an excellent addition to the plan, Commander Torres replied. The enemy ships were now close enough for detailed scans, and the results were sobering. Each Devourer vessel was twice the size of the Celestial Harmony, with weapons arrays that looked capable of reducing a planet to debris. Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission from the lead enemy vessel, the communications officer reported. Put on speakers, Torres commanded. A harsh mechanical voice filled the ship's corridors, speaking an accented but understandable human language. Human vessel, you are interfering with Devourer property. Return our star dragon immediately or be destroyed. Maya's face flushed with anger. Star Whisperer isn't their property. It's a free dragon now. Commander Torres stepped forward to address the enemy. This is Commander Torres of the research vessel Celestial Harmony. The Star Dragon is a sentient being that was being tortured by your technology. It has chosen to ally with us of its own free will. The mechanical laughter that came through the speakers was chilling. Sentient beings exist to serve the Devourers. Your species will learn this lesson when we harvest your world for our amusement. Prepare to be boarded. The communication cut off, and immediately the Devourer ships began accelerating toward them with obvious hostile intent. All hands, battle stations. Captain Rodriguez announced. This is not a drill. Prepare for combat. Maya ran to the viewport to watch as a Star Whisperer positioned itself between the human ship and the approaching enemies. The magnificent dragon's body began to glow with stellar energy, and its wings spread wide in an unmistakable display of protective defiance. Star Whisperer says to tell everyone not to worry, Maya called out. It's been waiting a really long time for this fight, and it's going to make sure the bad guys remember why they should never hurt star dragons. Lieutenant Park took her position at the weapons console, while Dr. Chun made sure Maya was safely secured in a crash harness. The first exchange of fire was only moments away. The lead Devourer ship fired first, launching what looked like bolts of pure darkness toward the Celestial Harmony. But Star Whisperer was ready. The dragon intercepted the attacks with bursts of stellar fire, creating brilliant explosions that lit up space around them. Dragon is engaging the enemy, Lieutenant Park reported. Incredible. It's actually neutralizing their weapons' fire. The human ship added its own firepower to the battle, though their scientific lasers seemed almost insignificant compared to the energies being thrown around by Star Whisperer and the Devourer vessels. But Park was targeting specific systems on the enemy ships, trying to disable their phase modulators before they could escape. Now, Star Whisperer, Maya shouted, somehow knowing the perfect moment for the dragon's special attack. The star dragon's entire body erupted with blinding light as it generated a controlled solar flare aimed directly at the Devourer ships. The quantum resonance effect was immediate and devastating. 3 of the enemy vessels suddenly became visible as their phase modulators failed, trapping them in normal space. Target the disabled ships, Commander Torres ordered. The Celestial Harmony poured concentrated fire into the now vulnerable Devourer vessels, while Star Whisper followed up with precisely aimed stellar energy blasts. Two of the enemy ships exploded in brilliant fireballs, their dark hulls unable to withstand the combined assault. But the remaining three ships were adapting to their tactics. The command vessel began emitting some kind of energy field that seemed to cause Star Whisper physical pain, while the other two ships moved to flank the dragon from opposite directions. They're using pain beam technology, Maya cried out, feeling Star Whisper's distress through their mental connection. It's like the sparkly control things, but as a weapon, Dr. Chen realized the danger immediately. If they can cause the dragon enough pain, it won't be able to fight effectively. Star Whisper was indeed beginning to falter under the assault of artificially induced agony. Its movements became less coordinated, and its stellar fire attacks were losing accuracy. The Devourers had clearly learned from their previous encounters with star dragons, and had developed specific weapons to counter their abilities. Maya, can you help Star Whisper focus through the pain? Dr. Chun asked desperately. Maya closed her eyes and concentrated harder than she ever had in her young life. Through their mental connection, she tried to send the dragon feelings of strength, comfort, and determination. She thought about every time she had been scared or hurt, and how the love of her family had helped her be brave. "You're not alone anymore," she whispered, knowing somehow that Star Whisper could hear her across the vacuum of space. "We're fighting together." The effect was immediate and remarkable. Star Whisper's stellar fire suddenly burned brighter, and its movements regained their fluid grace. The dragon had learned to use its connection with Maya as an anchor point, drawing strength from the child's unwavering courage. "Incredible!" Dr. Patel exclaimed, watching the readings on his instruments. The quantum resonance between them is actually amplifying the dragon's energy output. Star Whisper turned its renewed power on the command vessel that had been projecting the pain beam. The dragon's claws, each one the size of a building, closed around the enemy ship's hull with crushing force. Then, just as Maya had translated earlier, Star Whisper began to shake the vessel vigorously. The results were spectacular. Devourer technology appeared to be highly sensitive to kinetic disruption, and the violent shaking caused systems all across the command ship to fail in cascading overloads. Lights flickered and went out, weapons stopped firing, and the pain beam projector sparked and died. "The command ship is disabled," Lieutenant Park reported with excitement. All major systems appear to be offline. But the two remaining Devourer ships were not giving up. They began a desperate attack on the Celestial Harmony itself, apparently hoping to use the human ship as a hostage to force Star Whisper to surrender. Maya felt the dragon's rage through their connection as Star Whisper realized that the enemies were threatening its new friends. The Star Dragon's response was swift and merciless. It released the disabled command ship and attacked the remaining Devourers with the full fury of a stellar predator protecting its adopted family. The battle became a display of power that would have been impossible for human science to fully comprehend. Star Whisper moved through space like living lightning, striking the enemy ships with precisely controlled solar flares while avoiding their desperate return fire. The dragon had become something beyond a mere creature. It was a force of nature unleashed against those who had dared to enslave it. In less than 5 minutes, the remaining Devourer ships were reduced to drifting hulks, their crews either dead or unconscious from the systematic destruction of their vessels' life support systems. "All enemy ships are neutralized," Lieutenant Park reported, her voice filled with awe. "The dragon, it's incredible what it can do when it's fighting as a free being instead of as a slave." Maya was listening to Star Whisper's communications again, and her face lit up with excitement. "Star Whisper says there are other star dragons imprisoned on the command ship. It can hear them calling for help." The implications hit everyone simultaneously. They had not just won a battle. They had potentially rescued an entire group of enslaved star dragons. "Can we board the command ship safely?" Commander Torres asked. Dr. Patel was scanning the disabled vessel with their sensors. Life support appears to be minimal, but the ship's structure is intact. We could mount a rescue operation. Star Whisper wants to help, Maya announced. It says it can use its claws to carefully open the parts of the ship where the other dragons are being kept. But it needs us to go inside and turn off the sparkly control things. The rescue operation that followed was unlike anything in human history. Star Whisper used its massive claws with surprising delicacy to carefully peel open sections of the Devourer Command ship, while human teams in spacesuits ventured inside to disable the parasite control systems that had been tormenting the captive dragons. What they found inside was both heartbreaking and inspiring. 7 star dragons of various ages had been imprisoned in crystalline cells, their bodies riddled with the same technological parasites that had controlled Star Whisper. But the moment the human teams began removing the control devices, the dragons' cries of pain transformed into songs of joy. Maya served as translator for the entire rescue operation, helping each free dragon understand that the small beings in spacesuits were friends who had come to help. The newly liberated dragons were weak from their captivity, but their gratitude was overwhelming. They want to know if we can help them find their families, Maya reported, tears of joy streaming down her face. Star Whisper is telling them that the small people are the bravest friends in the galaxy. As the last of the imprisoned dragons was freed from its technological shackles, Star Whisper gathered its newly rescued kin around the human ship in a protective formation. The sight of 8 free star dragons surrounding the celestial harmony was so beautiful that many of the crew members were openly weeping. Maya, Dr. Chen said, kneeling beside her daughter, "Can you ask Star Whisper what they plan to do now?" Maya listened to the complex harmonics as the dragons communicated among themselves, then smiled broadly. They're going to form a dragon rescue group. Star Whisper is going to teach the others everything it learned about fighting devourers, and they're going to free all the other captured dragons in the galaxy. And what about us? Commander Torres asked. Will we see them again? Maya's smile became even brighter. Star Whisper says that humans are now officially friends of all star dragons everywhere. If we ever need help, all we have to do is call out to the stars, and a dragon will come to help us. And if we ever want to visit the dragon worlds, they'll show us where to find them. Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom with barely contained emotion. Outstanding work, everyone. We have successfully completed what may be the most important first contact mission in human history. We've made friends with one of the galaxy's most powerful species, and we've struck a major blow against a hostile force that enslaves sentient beings. As the rescued dragons prepared to depart on their mission to free their enslaved kin, Star Whisper approached the celestial harmony one final time. The magnificent creature's stellar eyes focused on the viewport where Maya stood watching. Star Whisper wants to give us a present, Maya announced. It's going to teach our computers how to talk to dragons, so we can always be friends even when we're far apart. A gentle beam of stellar energy touched the ship's communications array, and suddenly, the computers were filled with new data, a translation matrix that would allow humans to communicate directly with star dragons across any distance. And it wants to give me a special present too, Maya added, her eyes shining with wonder. What kind of present? Dr. Chen asked, though she was almost afraid to hear the answer. Maya listened to Star Whisper's final message, then looked up at her mother with absolute joy. It says that because I helped save it, I'll always be able to hear dragons calling from anywhere in space. If any dragon ever needs help, I'll know about it, and I can tell people so we could go help them. As the group of star dragons prepared to depart, they performed what could only be described as a dance of gratitude around the human ship. Their crystalline wings caught and reflected the light of distant stars, creating a light show of indescribable beauty. Then, one by one, the dragons began to glow with stellar energy and disappeared into the depths of space, traveling faster than human technology could track. Star Whisper was the last to leave, its parting song a promise that echoed through the ship's hull like a blessing. Until we meet again, small, brave friend. Maya translated the final message. Thank you for teaching me that freedom is worth any risk, and that friendship can exist between any two beings who choose to care about each other. As the celestial harmony began its journey back toward human space, Maya remained at the viewport, watching the stars with new understanding. Somewhere out there, 8 free dragons were beginning their mission to liberate their enslaved kin. And somehow, a small human child had become the galaxy's first official dragon friend. Dr. Chin put her arm around her daughter's shoulders. I'm very proud of you, Maya. You were incredibly brave today. Maya smiled and leaned against her mother. I wasn't brave alone, Mom. Star Whisper and I were brave together. That's what friends do. They help each other be stronger than they could be by themselves. Captain Rodriguez's final log entry would record the mission as humanity's first successful rescue of enslaved alien sentients and the establishment of a formal alliance with the Star Dragon species. But Maya knew the real story was simpler and more wonderful than any official report could capture. Sometimes when someone is hurting, all they need is for someone else to care enough to help. And sometimes when you choose to be kind to someone who seems different from you, you discover that friendship really can cross any boundary, even the vast emptiness of space itself. The little girl who had challenged fate to soothe a howling star dragon had learned that courage, compassion, and friendship were truly the most powerful forces in the universe. And somewhere among the stars, a grateful dragon was making sure that every member of its species knew about the small, brave humans who had proven that even the smallest person can make the biggest difference. The galaxy was a little bit brighter that day, and it would never be quite the same again.